You're listening to America's Diesel Podcast.
Well, this is America's Diesel Podcast, obviously, with Ben and Tyler, but it's only Tyler. And now we've got Jesse.
Yeah.
Which is always entertaining to listen to you. I was just talking to Cooper, actually, upstairs. And he's like, I was grabbing my beer, and he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm doing a podcast with Jesse, because we're going to be behind. He's like, Shop Jesse? I'm like, yeah. Like, when he gets on the podcast, like, he... motherfucker can talk. So, he's like, really? You just needed that to come out of his shell.
Yeah.
But he did ask me to bring up your he called it the Ute.
Oh, the
Crown
Crown Victoria.
Vic. Yeah. So we'll talk about that here in a second. This week's podcast episode is brought to you by Fuel Bomb Diesel Additive, an additive designed for diesel enthusiasts, made by diesel enthusiasts. Ben, take it away.
Hell yeah, dude. So this is our in-house Fuel Bomb fuel additive for your diesel truck. Our biggest thing here is making sure that you can pretty much always have diesel additive on you all the time. You've got a lot of other additives out on the market that they have, anti-gel in there all the time. They have cetane in there all the time. They end up being big and bulky bottles. Our standard everyday diesel fuel additive is 1 ounce per 32 gallons, and that's its main job is to make sure that your fuel system stays lubricated and prevents the formation of algae. And it should also help you in colder climates too.
Should definitely help you in colder climates. Along with cleaning your fuel system and maintaining it, it'll also help you bump that cetane number up for a more efficient burn of your diesel fuel. And if cetane is just what you're after, there's the Fuel Bomb Hellfire, which is our straight 8+ cetane enhancer.
Yeah, and you guys asked, and we brought them back. We did go away from the bottles that didn't have the measuring little parts in there. We brought them back for you, so now you can measure out your 1 ounce per 32 gallons for the F-Bomb or 4 ounces per 32 gallons for the Hellfire.
Both these additives are available on our website, dieselpowerproducts.com. Now let's get back to that episode. Thanks for tuning in to America's Diesel Podcast. This is obviously Tyler. Ben is out sick right now. You can find us on, I don't do this part. Yeah. You can find us on Spotify.
Google Play, Spotify.
Anywhere you listen to podcasts, download, share, do all that fun stuff. Leave a 5-star review on any platform you listen to it on. Screenshot that, send it to podcast@dieselpowerproducts.com, and Ben might send you a picture if you send him a picture of your truck and an address, or send you a sticker.
No, I think a picture sounds weird.
Yeah, he'll send you a picture or something.
Candid shot of him in the bedroom.
If you have an iPhone, he'll probably airdrop you something.
But yeah, be very, always be cautious when Ben airdrops you something. Look at your surroundings first and who's looking in your general direction, because it's probably going to be weird.
Sales.
If you place an order with obviously if you need diesel parts, shop at dieselpowerproducts.com. If you place an order with us, in the comment section, write down podcast, just so the bosses know that we're not just down here talking smack, drinking beer. We are doing that, but
we also
doing
sell
it
diesel parts
with a purpose.
We're trying to be productive.
Doing it with a purpose. We got Jesse here since Ben's gone. He's always I think you're going to be the official fill-in.
I could dig that. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I always enjoy doing this. This is a lot of fun. So.
Yeah. The Ute.
Yeah.
I forgot you sold that.
Yes, I did. Actually, I had somebody message me on Instagram just yesterday, I think, like, hey, did you still have this thing? That was where I got my main Instagram following, was that piece of shit.
Dude, I remember the first time you showed up with that thing, and I was like, hey, Ben, look at this. Look at this fucking thing. It was just like, what is that thing? Yeah. I think we talked about it before, but I just thought it was funny that Cooper brought it up, and I forgot you sold it. So
yeah, no, I sold it to a guy I went to the Gambler with on the coast, or didn't go with, but met at the Gambler, and he had to have it. And years later, I got a hold of him and was like, hey, this thing needs to be like out of my yard.
What kind of guy is like, I've gotta have that?
Yeah. Well, he was like bound and determined to have one, so he started to build his own, and I don't think it came out as quite as well as he hoped. And so there's been like 5 confirmed copies of that car, and I helped with a lot of them. Like, there's a guy in I totally I'm like blanking on his name. I can remember his Instagram handle, but he built a way nicer one than mine.
Really?
But he was like, dude, can you send me pictures? I'm like, how'd you do this? How'd you do that? And then he sends me a picture of it in primer, and I'm like, oh, mine looks like shit. Like, he did way nicer body. I mean, I did for a Gambler car, I did really good body work, but he took it to like the next level, painted the whole car. and it turned out just perfect. Like, it is so nice.
It's so funny that something like that, like a build like so obscure, just turns into something that someone actually like. You should actually get in, like, you should manufacture those.
Yeah, no, I know. I seriously thought, for everybody that doesn't know what it was a 2006 Crown Victoria Police Interceptor that I didn't shorten the frame or the body, so it was a 4-door car. I just welded the rear doors shut, filled them all in, cut the roof, and moved the back window area, C-pillar area, 26 or 28 inches forward and turned it into a 2-door Ranchero. But it used factory rear glass. Like, it looked like Ford should have done it. Like, it worked really well. On the bed, I never really finished the bed out because I was like on a time crunch, going to the Washington Gambler 500, like, got it done enough. Like, the tailgate functioned, like, stuff like that. But it's like, the sad thing is like, once something runs and drives, like, I'm not going to finish it. Like, it functions until it breaks. I'm not going to fix on, so it's like, it worked. And I was like, cool. Some water gets inside sometimes, whatever, that's life.
Yeah.
But, it's, I enjoy building that kind of stuff. And I've got a bunch of just stupid ass projects.
I feel like your like projects are on like a do you still have the charger?
Yeah. Yeah. It's
are you selling that?
No, I'm not selling that.
Okay, good.
It's, you can't, that's one that's like, the only reason I would sell it is out of pure greed. Because second generation Dodge Chargers are just ridiculous.
Oh, and even if you find one too, they're usually like pretty rusty.
They're roached, and a roached one's $20,000.
Yeah.
And like a super roached one is $10,000.
Yeah. I saw it was a factory 440 car that was sitting in like a barn. And I think it was like a Roadrunner or something. And it was bad. Yeah. Like really bad. You know how much they were still asking for it?
Probably like $25,000.
Yeah. I was like, oh my God, you have to replace every panel on that car.
Yeah.
And I mean, talk about how much labor is in just to do that. But every panel, all the floors, the trunk, everything.
Yeah. Well, I remember when I was 13 is when I got my first project car, my GT Torino, and car family and everything else, and like my dad's first car was a 68 Charger, and so like I was looking through the wheel deals, the old
wheel deals,
and I remember finding a primer black 68 or 9 Charger that like ran and drove, but like primered shitty Charger, and it was $8,500, and I was 13, so this was whatever 2008, 9. It was like they were a lot of money back then. Yeah. Considering $8,000 got you a freaking nice, like you could have bought the nicest Torino on the planet for $8,500. Like,
dude, this was in a wheel deals. I was looking for it was for my first car. Yeah. And I'm looking through there, and I was always wanted a classic, right? And I come across this like the old body. I think they're 60s or early 70s, the old style Bronco that looks like the new ones.
Yeah, the early ones.
Yeah, the early ones. $3,500.
Yeah.
And I was like, nah.
And it was probably mint. It was probably the nicest one ever. Yeah.
And I bypassed it because I wanted like a muscle car.
Yeah.
And my dad's like, well, you should look at this, think about that Bronco. I'm like, nah. It doesn't have a top, and it's and now you think and now that same Bronco, I mean, probably in the 20s.
Oh yeah, no, probably more. Like,
probably since the new ones came out. Yeah,
the early Bronco. So I bought my '66 Bronco in 2013 or 14 for $2,500, and it was a hunk of shit. And when I bought it, it was a $5,000 Bronco. I was like, I could double my money on this thing tomorrow.
Yeah,
as a joke, I was like kind of in a pissed off project car mood this spring. Listed it online for $20,000 as runs and drives, needs, floor pans, everything. I mean, it's a shitty looking. I was like I don't want to sell it, but like somebody's got $20,000. I had people messaging me on it, and I'm like, no way is everyone this dumb,
dude. It's wild. It's wild. And what's funny is I there's a lot of and first of all, I know this is a diesel podcast. We're going to get there.
Yeah. Hold on.
Yeah. But like looking back on things now, like there were so many really good deals out there that I just didn't think about. Then
if we could
then
go
you
back
miss them. Yeah.
If you go back and buy up every 67 to 72 C10 long bed.
Oh my God.
That was $500.
You can retire.
Yeah. Like, or every Fox Body Mustang GT that was $1,000.
Yep. $1,200 like all day.
Yeah.
All
like,
day.
You could have bought, like, I remember seeing a Celine, like an 87 or 8 Celine Fox Body for $3,500, drive it home in like 2013. And I remember thinking like, and it was original paint and everything. It was like a little ratty, but like complete running, driving black and gold Celine Mustang.
Yeah.
That's a $25,000-$30,000 car now, which is dumb.
It's stupid.
It's like I like Fox Body Mustangs a lot. Like,
but they're Fox Body Mustangs.
But they're and it's like now the rare ones. Like one of my buddies has a '93 Cobra. Like, that's like the hottest Fox Body in existence. And it's like those things sell for $80,000.
Well, then you like, you know, you don't buy it when you're you know, get those good deals, and then you think to yourself like, okay, you know, when, you know, 20 years from now, nobody's gonna want them, and then then the prices will go back down, and I'll buy it. Well, it's not really happening. My plan's not working out.
It's not. No,
it's not working out.
That's why I've gotten to where like I have all the things I could possibly want. Like I have the coolest vintage SUV, a 66 Bronco. Like that's what everybody wants. I have a 68 RT Charger. That's what everybody wants. You know, and it's like, and this is another thing. I don't care what brand you're loyal to. Yeah. If you don't like the Dukes of Hazzard,
get out. You're not an American at that point.
Everybody loves the General Lee. My car will never be orange. It'll never have an 01 and a flag.
Yep.
But 68 Charger, coolest car on the planet. Like,
absolutely. They're cool.
I know the General Lee's a 69, but I actually do prefer the 68 a little bit more.
The headlights, right? Headlights are different. The front end, the grill
doesn't have the center bar. The tail lights are different. I actually like the tail lights are the best. That's one of the best looking sets of the 60s tail lights on the planet.
Oh, well, hold on. The 63 Ford Fairlane had one of the coolest tail lights.
Those are pretty good.
I freaking love those tail lights. Yeah. The way that they glow.
Yeah.
Oh man. They're but anyways.
Oh yeah. No. That's my I've got them Galaxies that have the big the bigger version, the big round jet looking.
Yeah, it's got the red in the middle and it's got the cup that dude, those are so freaking cool. Then they have like the black. Like my 63 had black in between the dude, it looks so cool at night. Like that was I regret selling that car, but anyways, the reason why we're talking about classic cars and all sorts of old stuff is because a lot of people, especially in the diesel world, want to swap a diesel into a classic car, or you swap a classic body onto a more modern chassis, which is what you are literally in the process of trying to do.
Yeah, I have a couple. Well, actually,
not a diesel though, but it's still.
I've done a couple of them in the past, and like I've said before, it's like I get halfway through a project and I get bored and I send it down the way. Yeah. And it's like I did a 68 Fairlane 500 fastback on a 76 Highboy frame, so it was 4-wheel drive.
Yeah.
And that was more of a let's make this 4-wheel drive instead of let's make this newer.
Right.
But it's still the same concept. It's like you're swapping everything onto a whole nother frame. You're doing a lot of wheelbase measurements, and it's a really hot thing to do these days. And it's a really, like there's a lot of people are like, wow, that's way too much work. Like, why not just swap the axles and the engine into the old frame?
Right.
Well, you're doing a whole lot of work no matter what you're going to do.
Yeah.
Like you're either building a bunch of body mounts and modifying floor pans, or you're building a bunch of spring mounts and shock mounts and track bar mounts and
reinforcing frames.
And all them old truck frames are like, they're not boxed.
C-channel.
They're C-channel. They're thin. They're narrow. Like, you think 70s Fords until mid-year 77 were 34 inches wide front to back. SAE measurement.
Yep.
That was life. And then they started getting wider in the back after that. And then they, gradually we get wider frames all the way up, into the 90s. But it's like you're swapping. It's like everything's old.
Yeah.
These are old trucks. These are dinosaurs now.
Well, yeah, too. And especially if you're, us diesel guys putting in a torquey freaking diesel in something like that.
You're twist them frame rails up. Like, and especially like if you're like I put together a crew cab long bed 70s Ford, and I built it a 70s frame for it. And I was like, this would be cool to put a 12 valve in or something like that, but it's like it's also just cool just to make it function. And it's like, if you really want to go for a high-end build, you go buy a rolled 6.7 Power Stroke truck or a 6.7 Cummins truck or a 5.9, whatever diesel du jour rolled truck you find at the IAA auction.
Right.
Tear the body off and you figure out wheelbases from there. But like the easy ones, like so a first gen Cummins regular cab long bed is the same wheelbase as a 67 to 72 Ford pickup regular cab long bed. Same wheelbase. You can body swap that thing instantly.
Yeah.
But what's your gain? You're getting a truck with a very small frame that likes to break, right? The front leaf spring mounts I've seen before. It's like you're getting a lot. You're jumping up 20, 30 years in technology. But and now those trucks are not worth donering out anymore because they're expensive.
Exactly. Yep.
So it's like the big goal is like, what do you like to drive and what do you like to look at
and what do you want to work on?
And pay up for it. Like the guy named John who's got a body shop up north where I'm from, perfect saying is like it doesn't matter what it costs when you buy it because that's the cheapest part of the whole build. Like that you pay $5,000 or $50,000 for it. That's the cheapest part of a full build.
That is good advice.
Because it's like, especially these days, it's like a cheap paint job's $10,000. On a small truck.
Right.
Crew cab long bed.
Well, yeah.
$20,000.
Just look at all the work Dave's doing on that thing. That thing, I mean, and he, even if you talk to him about it, he's like, well, it's going to be okay. Like, he's,
if you're going for like truck show in Florida, paint jobs, those guys are spending 30, 40 grand on paint, custom paint jobs on up. Like, and so it's like, just pick, like, do you want a 70s Ford crew cab body? Okay. Go buy one and pay up for it. They're expensive right now. Go buy one that isn't rusty, that isn't beat. Go buy if you're going to go buy if you're going to do this and do a body swap, go buy a cab. Buy a cab that has rear doors. Because the front doors, front clip, bed, you can buy all that stuff out of a catalog. If you happen to find one, a 2-wheel drive, regular cab or a crew cab long bed or short bed or something, it's like, cool. You found it. It's $10,000. It doesn't run. You can part it out. And keep the body, and then go, okay, I want a radius arm Super Duty frame, and I want a 6.7 truck, and I want this trans and everything else, and it's like, and then the other thing to think about is like, are you going to do a cab swap, or are you going to do, I always call it floor panning a rig, where you cut the donor rig down to a floor pan and a firewall, and you just slide another cab over the top of it, and that keeps you run the newer dash, you run the newer seats, everything.
Gotcha.
And I tell you what, you see them guys sliding 70s Ford pickup cabs over like 2020 Super Duty dashes, and they fit pretty well. And you think, well, truck's way wider. Well, these newer trucks are way wider from the like inside of the A-pillar out, like the doors are thicker and like those it's all crash protection. And so it's like, don't really have to cut the dashes up much to get it to slip around there. So it's like, that's something to take into account, because
honestly, I've seen guys do that kind of build, but I didn't realize that's what they were doing.
Most of the time you're cutting, you take, let's say
the front piece and the
77
floor.
crew cab, you're cutting the whole firewall out up to the top of up to the cowl, and cutting the whole floor pan out to the rockers, and then just doing the opposite on the donor truck. But that's something to take into account. If you're going to do that, you don't want an XL.
Right.
You want to buy a donor truck, you want to buy a King Ranch or a Lariat XLT, you want a nice truck, because you're going to use those seats, you're going to use that dash. And the gray plastic shit that's in the XL Ford pickups is ugly and shitty, and it's like,
it's just not going to look right when you're building like a classic, unless you're building like a classic like work truck or something,
But and you can swap, you can swap King Ranch seats from the junkyard. Once you have that floor pan, it's like any Super Duty stuff's going to bolt in there, but it's like, once again, now you're paying up. Now you're going to a wrecking yard, and you're paying $2,000 for a set of seats.
I don't know how I feel about, because I like the vintage dashes of like the old cars, So I don't know how I feel about
it's a take it or leave it thing.
It's kind of just because I mean, I know the one vehicles that I've seen where guys do that I think are cool are like when they do like the old Challengers or like a Charger or something and do like a Hellcat dash.
Yeah,
you know, like that is to me is okay.
Well,
but there's still something like if you're gonna build an old there's something cool about having like modern drivetrain, but still having like an old style dash.
Yeah. Oh no, and I'm that way with the pickups. Like I 100% agree. It just made me think though. So one of the coolest, like I would say, like the first like kind of pro touring car I ever saw was owned by the owner of the Les Schwab dealership in my hometown, and it was a 50. I think it was a 55. It was a Tri-5 Chev, but I think it was a 55 Bel Air that had a totaled out WS6 Trans Am as a donor, like an 01, 02 WS6 car. And so it had the LS1, 6-speed, like all that in it, rear axle, front suspension, everything out of this Trans Am. But he put the whole dash and interior out of that 01 Trans Am in that 55 Chev.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, like, this is the coolest thing on the you look at that car now, you're like, there's a bunch of plastic shit in this Tri-5.
Right.
But it was like the amount of work that somebody, and it was built, like he bought an almost new, or a 5-year-old, 6-year-old car that was totaled.
Yeah.
So it's like, at the time, it was like
pretty new.
It's what we think of when you see, 71 Challenger with a 2015 Challenger donored out to build it now.
Right.
But yeah, it's weird. Like, I can appreciate the amount of work somebody goes through to do like the new interior and everything. Yeah. And the cool thing is like fucking everything works. Your heated seats work.
Well, yeah. And if you need parts, you just go to the parts store and they, or go to the dealership.
Go to the dealership and they plug their scanner into it.
Yeah.
And so like if you're going to drive it across America, if it's going to be your tow rig for your camper or something.
Yeah.
Which is another thing to take into consideration with these style of swaps is like, who's going to work on it when you're 5 states away?
Yeah, especially when you're hodgepodge and shit together and you're the only guy or something, you know.
It's one thing if you got like LS swapped, square body Chev pickup. It's like any dude,
you can go to Walmart and buy parts.
There's going to be 300 shops anywhere that'll work on it on your trip.
Yeah.
But like, if you're doing this Ford, Chevy, Dodge, you do a whole body swap and you've got the stock dash out of that truck and everything in it, and you just got an old truck wrapper, slid over it. Yeah, you just pull up to the Chevy dealership and they're going to look at you funny at first and they're going to open the door and go, okay, here's the OBD2 port. I'll just plug into it.
And then you're going to get all the techs swarming around your vehicle.
Yeah, you're going to be the science experiment, the cool kid in the parking lot.
This is so cool. They're going to be taking pictures.
Yeah. I'm getting ready to embark on that with a 72 GMC Jimmy, like a Blazer, onto a 01 Suburban.
Which is going to be cool.
It's going to be rad. Yeah. And it's a 2-wheel drive Suburban. So it's coil spring rear, torsion bar front. I've got a set of 20-inch GMC, like 2022 GMC, like snowflake aluminum wheels for it.
Yeah.
And, it's got a 5.3 automatic. It's just like
good daily, but looks old. Yeah.
And they drive nice. And that's what I was saying before. It's like, what do you want to drive? Do you want to drive a shitty old truck? Or do you want to drive a new truck with a shitty old truck wrapper over it?
It's funny that there's like, I think me and you have a kind of very similar, I mean, although I do drive a brand new truck, but if you were to, put a gun to my head and tell me like, hey, you can drive this classic vehicle that has modern drivetrain, or you could drive your new truck. I'm gonna take the classic.
I'm gonna take if it's a sorted out pro touring rig, it's like that's cool. And that was my whole plan with this build is like I thought those Blazers and Jimmys were cool, the first generation ones.
Yeah.
And they're ridiculously expensive now.
Yes,
and I found some really roached out ones that were like parts rigs. And 20 years ago when they were parts rigs, they were worth nothing. And now they're not. So it's like this was the only way for me to have one was to get basically just a body. I got a body and a frame, no running gear, no engine trans, nothing. But basically a complete body. And got a cheap Suburban that's got really high mileage.
Yeah. I mean, it's a 5.3.
Yeah. And when I can make $1,000 Rock Auto order and rebuild all the brakes and all the ball joints and like do all that stuff and it'll, if anything's wrong, and it'll just be done. But it's like that era of those Chevrolets, ride so freaking nice.
Oh, God,
Them torsion bar trucks are just ride good, and it's like
and yours has rear coil.
Yeah, coil rear.
Yeah.
So it's really a good riding rig, and easy to lower. You know, you can buy drop spindles for it. You can buy that's the biggest advantage is like old stuff. It's like I had thought about doing it and getting a like a 70 Chevy long bed trailing arm rear suspension pickup and just shortening the frame and putting the Blazer body on. That way it's still 4-wheel or 4-corner coil spring.
Yeah.
But you're the same era technology. It's old crap.
Exactly.
And everything has to be gone through. This thing, it's high mileage and it's 22 years old.
But the suspension's probably fine.
Yeah, it's probably
maybe throw
fine.
some new shocks on it.
Yeah.
You know, if you're going to lower it, you probably need some new shocks anyways.
Yeah. And all the stuff, it's like you put a bunch of new stuff on a 19 Chevy pickup, you got a bunch of new stuff and old suspension design.
Yeah.
It's still not going to ride great. And those were good riding trucks in 1970,
they were,
72, like really good. By today's standards, still pretty good for an old. They were the best riding of the 2-wheel drive trucks.
Yeah.
But they're nothing near that 40-year jump in technology is significant.
Yeah.
And that's something to really take into account is like, that's my biggest problem I have with all the old truck stuff. Broncos, square body Chevs, all this old 4-wheel drive stuff. High boy Ford pickup prices are through the roof. 20, 25 grand for drivers.
You know what's the funniest thing about that though too is like Ford or GM never expected these to be classics.
No, and you can tell when you see how they were built. They're junk.
Never expected it.
I love 67 to 79 Ford trucks. I will be the first one to tell you. And I will say this. They're the best of the big three. I don't care who you are.
Yeah. Square
body guys, come at me.
I don't have an opinion on that.
The Dodges, even my buddies in the 70s Dodge pickups, he'll fully admit they were the worst.
Yeah.
And Chevy and Ford were kind of fighting for top space. And they both have their problems, but it's like Ford had pretty good build quality back then. They're still junk.
Yeah.
Like none of the junk by...
Well, they were meant for like a guy on a farm, like to work and throw it away and buy a new one.
Yeah. By the standards of if you're trying to build a show rig, none of the panel gaps were nice from the factory.
No.
And you're going to spend hundreds of hours making doors and fenders and hoods and everything fit like a Mustang or something when you if you're trying to do a high-end build.
Oh, yeah.
And the sides of the bed and like the tailgates, all that stuff. They just weren't expecting. I mean, they were just like nice enough to sell.
Right. Right.
That's all they just needed to be.
They literally expected people to beat the shit out of them and then throw it in the trash and buy another one.
And that's the other thing. This is the first real era of like mass produced 4-wheel drives.
Yeah.
It's like Ford started making, doing 4-wheel drive stuff in 59.
Yeah.
And that's everybody else is kind of around that time. So by the late 60s, they were just getting this stuff figured out.
Yeah.
And now it's 4-wheel drives for the masses. And people were using the shit out of these things. They were not taken care of.
No.
And so it's like, I always rail that everybody's buying the idea of these trucks. Oh man, a 67 short bed 4-wheel drive Ford pickups. Awesome. That thing looks so cool. I bet it's fun to drive. It ain't.
Yeah.
Manual steering, manual brakes.
Yeah.
4-wheel drum, 360 or 4-speed, granny low. It's
4 miles of the gallon.
It's my buddy Craig always says it's no power steering, no power brakes, no power engine.
Yeah.
That's the era of those 3 options.
Yeah.
And so you're buying the idea.
Yeah.
Unless you want just the I've got 5 acres of land and I want an old rig that kind of feels like an old rig and everything and I can haul brush with it.
Yeah.
Cool. Buy an old shitty truck.
Right.
But
if you're going to drive it,
you can't drive that crap in the city.
No.
It's like it overheats and you can't turn around in parking lots. And
I don't think I know no power brakes because my first car did not have power brakes. Kids these days, they have no idea what power brakes feels like.
Well, and
you ain't stopping.
Yeah.
It's just in this day and age in this traffic, that shit ain't you can do it, but your calf's going to be twice the size it was.
It's you gotta know how to work on this stuff, and nobody wants. Yeah. They just hop in the stuff and drive it, and it's like even taking it to the shops. It's like there's not a lot of guys that are can really tune in a set of 4-wheel drum brakes.
Right.
Like, so
yes, there's plenty of people that, like, even me included. Like, I'm not a huge drum break fan. It's like doing drum breaks, I'm like, oh shit. Yeah. I gotta do drums.
Yeah. Like when I moved down here, I was driving a 72 Comet, which looks like a Maverick, 2-door, manual steering, manual trans, 3 on the tree, 4-wheel drums.
3 on the tree.
I had upgraded it to bigger drums in factory because I 5-lug swapped it. So I had a little bigger brakes. But it's, manual brakes, drum brakes, manual steering, manual trans.
Yeah.
But it's a car. It's light. The steering really doesn't feel that heavy. And on cars, you can kind of get away with that.
Yeah.
5,000-pound old Ford truck.
That you got on 37s or something.
You got 35, 37s on it, 4-wheel drum brakes, and somebody takes up that little bit of buffer room in traffic ahead of you, and then everybody gets on the brakes. Guess what? The Audi in front of you just got
got 3 feet shorter.
I had a really scary one just driving on the highway, and somebody, come around a corner and somebody stopped in the middle of the road.
Yeah.
We're doing 55, 60 miles an hour. I get on the brakes, 4-wheel drums, nothing. I'm getting down to about 45, and I realize that there was another car in front of them, and there's no roads to turn off of. At the end of this corner. Yeah. Somebody decided they were going to stop and do a U-turn.
Oh my God.
In front of that guy. So like 2005 Subaru Legacy, I'm picking, do I try to cut?
Freaking Subaru drivers.
Yeah. I'm picking, do I cut in between the car that stopped and the guardrail, or in between the car? There's nobody coming the other way. Yeah. So I'm like, I can just cut around his driver's side and just blow by him, as I'm slowing down. So I picked that. Yeah. And then all of a sudden the car in front of him that I didn't see turns. The Subaru Legacy just turns left right in front of me, and I barely miss him. He gets just ahead, so I split these 2 cars, and he's sideways. And I just wanted to be like, man, that Subaru's Legacy, the Subaru Legacy's legacy
was about to, it was about to end.
Dude, I would have just, it's like,
dude, and people, I mean, even whether it be old cars.
I guarantee he never does something that dumb again, because he probably looked over
shit
and
his
went,
pants.
Ah!
Yeah, he had to change his underwear after that one. But whether it be, people in old vehicles and people do that kind of shit and don't pay attention.
Yeah.
Or people in front of you when you're fucking towing a trailer.
Oh my God.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, that, like, I'll be the first to say I drive like a freaking grandpa. Yeah. Okay. It is what it is. Okay. I don't have any speeding tickets. My record's clean. I like that. It's fine. Like, I don't care. I'm never in a hurry to get somewhere. I'd rather get there. Especially when I'm towing things, and have like my dog, my wife and everything. So I usually keep, I try to keep extra space. And if someone wants to cut me off or get in front of me, fine, whatever. It's not the end of the day. I've had people, dude, pull out in front of me, like, and you slam on the brakes, and I know I've got modern brakes. I've got 4-wheel disc, analog brakes. I've got a brake controller. My trailer's got brakes. It still doesn't stop fast.
It takes a while, yeah.
Especially when I'm like fully loaded. Yeah. And it's like these people don't understand.
You can stop about as good as a 70s era Peterbilt.
Yeah.
With a loaded trailer.
Yeah. And these people don't understand. You pull out in front of, like, if you pull out in front of me and I'm going, 50, and you just cut me off or something or pull out in front of me, and if I hit you, I might kill you.
Yeah.
And I like me myself, I'll probably be fine.
Yeah, because I'm in a truck with a bunch of airbags and shit.
I'll probably be fine, but your 85 your 95 Legacy is just like you said. That's gonna be the end of that legacy.
Yeah, your legacy is you made a really dumb mistake.
I just don't understand it, but yeah.
No, there was a picture, it still goes around, but it's like, I grew up, my dad drove a log truck and stuff like that, and kind of I rode around in trucks a long time, so, I heard lots of colorful language and compliments to the fellow drivers around him. And he, told me, like, he taught me, it's like, if you can't see the mirror of the truck, like on a semi, it's like, if you're behind a semi and you can't see his mirror, he can't see you.
Yeah.
But like also on the front side of that, it's like the amount of space it takes a big truck to stop. Oh, and there was always that meme that went around that was a Peterbilt or something on top of like a 77 Corvette.
Yeah.
And so like that space you just took up in front of that Peterbilt was the space it needed to stop.
Yeah.
And it's like now with these modern diesel pickups that have 30,000 pound tow capacities, it's like, that's what guys in Peterbilts were doing in the freaking 70s.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. No, it truly is. I mean, the tow rate, like what they were towing, like, I mean, these new trucks are knocking on the door of what an old semi truck can
like
tow.
early semi trucks were doing. It's like, it's crazy to think. And semi trucks are so far. I mean, it's like freaking, they're towing 120,000 pounds, gross. It's like,
you watch those videos online of people like cutting off semi truck drivers. I try to be a respectful driver. I always give semi trucks enough space, because it's like, dude, I get it. You're driving something huge, and you could kill me, and I'll just let you in. That's fine.
Yeah.
Like, you go 60, I'll go 60 with you, bro.
Yeah.
Like, we'll
Exactly,
I'll just what is that? Well, what's that? Draft right behind you. Yeah. Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
But
Well, yeah, it's like, pulling in front of semis. It's like, even in traffic in town, it's like, you can see they're keeping 4, 5, 6 car lengths in front of them. And it's like, especially if I'm on my bike or something, it's like, I will wait until we can get, I'm 3 car lengths, and then I get as far ahead of that guy as possible, because you don't want him tapping on his brakes. And it's like, these guys are out working. You're just like going to get ice cream.
You're just, right.
And it's just ridiculous. It's like, today, just going to lunch.
Yeah.
Like, people that don't know that what they're doing is dangerous because they're going slow. They're like, well, I'm taking more time to get into this intersection instead of, instead of going normal or going too fast, I'm going to go extra slow. And you're now creating an opposite dangerous situation
behind you. Yeah, that you can't see.
And it's like, there's just some people out there that shouldn't drive.
Oh, well, dude, I find myself...
And I'm not saying this. Now, let me be clear. I'm being racially and age ambiguous about this. I am not saying a certain person. I'm just saying some people that are idiots.
Yes.
That are really dumb. There's a lot of really dumb people
read between
out there.
the lines.
Yeah. And if you know who you are, unless you're really, really dumb, and then you don't. Then you really don't know who you are. But there's just so many people that, like, I mean, Germany kicks our ass in this department. You got to take a lot of classes and like years of training to get a driver's license. And over here, they're like, hey, hop in with your PE coach when you're 16 at high school.
They'll teach you how to drive a Pontiac Grand Prix.
Yeah. Actually, we had a Lumina.
Did you? I had a Pontiac Grand Prix. Red.
Yeah. I was like, hop in this shitbox car and, take a couple 4 months worth of classes and then go up to the DOL and have that minimum wage dude take you around and see if you can parallel park.
Yeah.
And then here's your license. Go drive around a 4,000 pound missile.
Yeah.
And it's just not like, I don't like government regulation.
Yeah.
I'm pretty American. I don't like that stuff. I mean, I think we can all but I think we should regulate. It's a slippery slope of like, we should probably regulate a little bit more on who can drive a car.
I find myself saying a lot when I'm in my truck, saying this a lot, going, you're the reason why there's traffic jams and why there's why there's wrecks and why I'm late. Yeah. Like you right there.
Yeah. It's like I was in a clear intersection.
Yeah.
With one truck in front of me. And they pulled out to take a left turn, 4-way intersection, and basically stopped halfway through. So they're like still, like their rear tires are kind of at the stop line.
Yeah.
And they're going out, and I'm like, what's going on? And they finally just creep out into the road and get into the other lane. And I pull forward, and there's nobody around for a half a mile.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I'm going to chase this person down. I got to find out what's wrong. I didn't, because I don't have that much time.
Or you do the, I need to drive by you to see if you look as freaking idiotic as you drive.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep, you do.
Yeah, it's, well,
do you know which one that gets me, like, actually leaving here almost I'd say probably every third day.
Yeah.
Is when, I think we go the
same
pace a lot.
Direction, yeah.
You get out right in front of Napa Warehouse.
Yeah.
And you're taking that right.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a protected right.
Yeah.
Or no, it's not, because it's you get the right of way because you're turning right, but then you have the traffic from the other way that's in the turn lane trying to go north on Freya. Dude, I'll get the green light and they'll get their it's probably a flashing
be,
yellow.
It's a yield.
Yield, right?
Yield green.
So they're supposed to yield to me turning.
Yeah.
Dude, all the time. They just start their turn and there's just going as I'm going.
Yeah.
I'm like, you idiot. Like if I had a trailer or something and went a little wide, I'd freaking side swipe you, and guess what? It's your fault.
Yeah.
Because I had the right of way.
Well, and they look at it and they're like, well, there's 2 lanes there, so I'm just going to go in the left lane. He's probably going to go in the right lane. You don't trust that.
Yeah, people do though.
Like,
I'm just like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
I kind of hate to admit this, but I will purposely take that one a little wide.
Yeah.
Like,
just to show
especially when
people
someone's
who's
coming,
boss.
like, exactly. Just be like, dude, it's not your turn, bro.
Think about this next time, MFer.
Yeah, like,
Yeah. No, it always scares me. It's like the stuff that people do when I'm driving around in a car and like now riding a motorcycle around this town.
Oh my God.
I'm like, every time I'm like, oh wait, I've seen some shit go down this intersection. I
seen
better
too
like,
much.
I better watch out. And guy yesterday, going out like to Argonne.
Mm-hmm.
It's 2 lanes in either direction, and then there's a shared turning lane in the middle, like to get into the different stores.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden there's like a concrete median because it's the dedicated left turn lane on Argonne.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going along on my bike, and all of a sudden there's 10 or 15 cars at the red light in the left lane heading east. So the turn lane, that little left turn lane that I need to get into, is now blocked because we're 10 cars deep past it. And there's 2 cars in the turn lane. And I'm like, man, this sucks. And it's like, I hate sitting in traffic on a bike. Because and now there's this other turn lane and stuff here. And I'm like, there's just people diving around everywhere. And I'm like, man, I got this like enduro. Yeah. I'm just going to hop that little concrete curb up there. So I just get in the turn lane. I go all the way up and I just hop up on the little curb and I drive over and I look over at a dude in a Super Duty and he's like, nice.
Yeah. I mean, I would probably do the same thing.
But it's like you got to drive. It's like you got to like fudge the line between like defensive driving and stupidity.
Yeah.
It's like I'm going to get myself out of potential shit situations. And you do the same thing in a car. Like, it's like I'm going to get over here where there's not a lot of stuff going on. There's not a lot of people in this line. And
100%.
And it's like it's just weird driving these days. There's so many. It's distractions, people on their phones and drinking coffee and putting makeup on. Whether you're a dude or a chick nowadays, you can be putting makeup on and you drive to work. I guess
you're
if you're into that sort of thing,
I've got 2 gripes for traffic.
I was just gonna ask you because I was like, wow, we went from classic cars to swaps to idiot drivers. Yeah. I love it.
What's the deal with drivers these days?
One of my big pet peeves is people that only go 40 merging onto a freeway.
I hate that.
Do
you know what the law is? Did you know the law is not... So if you're on the freeway, the person that's merging is the one that has to yield, not you. Mm-hmm. And I've seen so many people that like are in that lane and don't understand that and like slam on their brakes. It's like, you idiot. Now you're going to cause something behind you. Like, there's a reason for that. Like, this car is supposed to get up to speed. Not get into the lane and then get up to speed.
Yeah, and you do it as a courtesy. You get into the next lane.
Yes, you can do it as a courtesy if you can, but you are not would not be liable for any wreck if you stayed in that lane and just kept going. Yeah, which I didn't know that. I thought the other person yielding in had some sort of more rights to that, but no, it's that person has the full responsibility to get up to speed, get to highway speed, and
zipper in properly,
and zipper exactly.
See, I always take merging onto a highway as like a top speed challenge. Right?
Absolutely, this is like the one time I can floor it and not get in trouble.
You see it, especially on some of the ones we get around here that are like super tight 180s. You're like, how fast can I get going in this corner without breaking loose sideways?
Can I get going the speed limit like in the corner?
Oh, that's all. Sometimes it's like, of course in the Mustang, it's like okay. Let's see if I can get to 100 before we can even have the chance to merge. And then we'll just throw it neutral. We'll cruise. We'll just coast down there and merge in.
My other one up here, I don't think people understand stop signs.
No, and they don't. They're still working. They're still working on roundabouts.
Yes,
roundabouts are a big issue around here.
They're so easy
around here. They're the greatest traffic invention in the history of traffic.
Yeah,
but nobody knows how to use them.
Nobody knows how to use them. I have friends that it's infuriating to ride with them because they'll they'll use their turn signal many different ways throughout a roundabout. They're like, okay, I'm going into it, so I'm going to put it my
now
right
I'm gonna turn
on.
this way.
Now I'm following a roundabout, so I'm going to turn my left turn signal on. It's like you signal once in a roundabout situation to signal once when you exit.
Yeah, that's it. Because you're essentially you're going straight, and if you keep going straight, it'll just wrap you around.
Yeah. Oh, so that's I figured out a good way to explain roundabouts. Public service announcement brought to you by Diesel Power Products and the America's Diesel Podcast. Think of a roundabout as a straight street with 4 right turn possibilities.
Yes. Yeah.
But now just think that it's 180'd.
Yeah.
It's wrapped itself around another little planet in the center there. You're in this planet's gravitational pull, and you have to go left until you decide to take one of them right turns.
Yeah.
And then you signal like you take a right turn.
Like the left is implied.
Yeah.
You're going to go left regardless.
And then you also think about it, that if somebody was coming off one of them right turn roads, they got to yield to you because they're entering the highway.
Yeah.
So you can just be on this little circle forever.
Yeah.
It's just one endless straight road in a circle.
Yeah.
I know that contradicts itself, but you just think about this, like this little world you're now entered into.
Yeah.
And everybody else has to wait for you to figure out what you're going to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got a lot of power in this scenario.
If I ever had like a badass like car that can like turn, like I would
I used to do it in the Ute all the time.
Be like, listen, fuck it. I'm just going to sit in this roundabout for like 10 minutes, just going around it. just see how many people I piss off. And just
every time it rained, I'd go to there's 4 roundabouts in Deer Park now, but there was the 2 on the main highway, and every time it'd rain, I'd take the Crown Vic Ute out and drift that roundabout like 5 times. And you just see if you can like just full Ken block it around the thing and just like hold a perfect drift until a freaking Grand Cherokee's coming down the hill towards you. Like, oh no! Get out of here.
When I was coming back from lunch, I got off on the north-south freeway there, and there was that first roundabout. Dude, I saw this tiny little, it was like a Kia something car, literally cut off this semi going through, and he slams on his brakes. He didn't lock him up, but it was close, and he's laying on his horn, and there's this car just kind of
meandering,
just going slow as shit through the whole thing. I'm just like, God, you're gonna die. That's how you're gonna die. Like you're gonna die.
And I'm good with that.
Yeah, and you know that's what we call natural selection.
Natural selection takes out a lot of. It doesn't take out as many. There's
too many safety things now, so natural selection isn't quite working as it's designed.
Yeah. Darwin would be really disappointed. Be like, you guys are not evolving like we should.
God, there was my wife told me something last night that was like, oh, these people, died or something, and I was like, well, it's natural selection. So I told her. I can't remember what it was for. Gosh darn it, that was a good one. But that's what it is. I mean, come on, like, don't be an idiot. I think it was because it's actually kind of by Dave's house too, on is it Highway 2?
Yeah.
Colbert Road.
Oh, it's always a bad one.
There's always bad wrecks there.
Always bad wrecks.
And I guess I was kind of a dick because I think it was like an older person, but people pull out on that.
Oh yeah, all the
time. My wife will probably laugh at this because there's like a sign that says 1 vehicle in median at a time,
which is just law.
Yeah. And every time I go through there, there's always 2 cars in the freaking median. And I'm like, God, if I was a cop, I'd pull you over right now.
Yeah.
Right now, just to tell you.
But then there'd be
just
3 cars in the median.
I know. But I'm assuming that's probably what happened. But like, again, you know your surroundings. You're turning onto a freeway where people are going 60 miles an hour and you're just putting out into the middle lane. Like like, oh God.
No.
Anyways, drivers, we can go on for probably hours on freaking drivers.
Basically, everybody out there, check yourself.
Yeah. Does it? I know you haven't. Like, I've been obviously doing this like diesel thing for like quite a long time, and does it piss you guys off? Like, it pisses me off when like some asshole with a diesel truck just comes like almost trying to F with you, but like, whoa, like blowing smoke. That I don't know if it's just me getting older, but that honestly is like really starting to get to me.
It's
now.
just young kid like kind of douchery.
I know.
But
then I start looking at their truck and I'm just like, dude, you've got like freaking Napa shocks on it. You've got a 6-inch block under your spring.
Yeah.
You've got another coil spacer up front. You've got your wheels that are offset like completely out of the wheel well.
Yeah. I mean, and then when you see that, you almost feel bad for him because you're like, well, he's just angry that he can't get like the nice suspension.
I'm just getting old.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
because I used to be kind of an asshole, but
I loved having a straight pipe big block Ford.
Yeah,
for a long time until like my can't hear now.
But here's the thing: at least like my I mean, it's the trucks that can't back it up. Like, okay, if you're gonna drive like that and you don't have like at least 800 horsepower, like I'm gonna make fun of you.
But and that's the thing is that most of the guys that are like us that would have an 800 horsepower thing, don't drive like that.
Don't drive like that, exactly.
And it's like the guys who have the stuff don't drive like that. The guys that don't have the stuff drive like it, can't back it up. But it's always funny if you drive a performance car or a motorcycle or anything that looks like it could be fast. Those guys are the first ones to come up and be like, want to screw with you.
Yeah.
And or Subaru guys.
Yeah.
There's two versions of Subaru people. There's WRX guys and old ladies and Outbacks.
Yeah.
There's super slow, super fast. That's it. There's 2 lanes.
Yeah. And then now the whole thing with those, we've actually talked about this, is the whole rev it and then the pop.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was behind 2 of them, dude.
Yeah.
I told you weren't on. You weren't on here. I don't know if you listened to that podcast, but I was behind 2 of them.
Oh.
And they were just both just
They're
like
having who has the smaller dick contest.
They were just, and it was on like a 35-mile-an-hour road. They're just, I'm like, oh my god, you guys!
You can hear.
Are you
them,
freaking kidding me?
If you sit in a parking lot in Spokane at 9:30 at night,
oh, you'll hear them.
You can just hear them in the background. And I remember one of my buddies was visiting from out of town. He goes, "Are those gunshots?" I said, "No, it's some tweaker in a Subaru."
Yeah. Well, I was behind these 2, and they turned on to they turned off the road. And as I'm turning, there's a lady in like a Nissan Frontier pickup that literally pulled her head out of the window and like gave him a thumbs up. And I was like, lady,
don't encourage it.
First of all, you have a very poor taste in men. And that's probably why you're a single mom driving a clapped out Frontier.
Yeah.
For 2, that's not cool. Anyways, enough of us talking shit.
Rant over.
All right. Well, this is supposed to be a short one, but you know, that's what happens when you come on. I love talking to you. I think I'm gonna override Ben, and Jesse's gonna be the official replacement for Ben when he's gone.
I'm good with that.
I think it's fair.
Let's have a vote. Well,
that's
3-0.
Sorry, Ben.
3-0.
He wasn't here to vote.
So that's just how it's going to be. Jesse, I appreciate it. Short notice, I know.
No, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, always a good time talking to you. We'll have you back on to talk about some more stuff. I know Ben wanted to have you back on to talk about some more fabrication stuff. So
hell yeah,
we will get to that maybe in the next couple weeks here. And thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for tuning in. Make sure to subscribe and check us out at dieselpowerproducts.com.